pines, long before they covered everything up so you couldn't see it, was on a bus trip put together by the Garden Club of America to teach us all that we shouldn't have a jet port at McGuire. And it was a very interesting education. And when the Pinelands Act was passed, Governor Byrne called me in and said, "You're going to be on the commission, is that all right?" And in a tone of voice that said, "You better not say no." And so I've been here ever since. I love the pines. I think the pines are something so special. And one of the things that hurts me the most is most people in North Jersey haven't a clue where the pines are, or what they are, or what the commission does, or the staff, or anybody else. So I'm going to go on spreading the word. Nobody's going to shut me up. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I hate to follow Candy, but you've left me no alternative. And before I thank you, Candy, I wanted to make a point of thanking Paul Lakin for coming up with this wonderful concept for this exhibit 11 years ago. It took a lot of dedication to keep advancing toward today, and I appreciate the fact that you stuck to it.
I hate to interrupt.
Thank you for that.
I hate to interrupt you, Commissioner Lester.
Okay.
After you came after, but I have to point out that as much work as Paul did and as much praise as Paul deserves, Joel Martin is
Yes.
in the room, and he deserves equal credit and equal praise and equal kudos.
I haven't finished.
Thank you for
Okay,
that.
I'm sorry.
I was going there. I was going there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I was just going to say, in addition to that, it takes a team, obviously, to get something as magnificent as this exhibit is, to get it done and to persevere through 11 years worth of slogging and, obstacles. And that took leadership of our director, Nancy Woodbury. I really thank you for making sure that everybody stuck to the plan, for all the staff that helped, and especially to Joel Mott, who is our leader in terms of the education mission of the Pinelands Commission. Not many people think about that part of what we do. They think of us as a planning agency, but we really do have a very important education function, and Joel has really helped that come to the fore, and never better than today with this exhibit. So I really do thank all of you on the staff for helping this happen and to put the accent on our education mission. All right, so now having said that, let me turn to you, Candy. I have to tell you, I agree with Ed. I feel as though you have been my mentor as well. I thought I knew the Pinelands. I mean, I am from New Jersey. I grew up in South Jersey. My parents were taking me to the Pinelands since I was very young. I thought I knew. But when I met you, I learned I didn't know the half of it. And I appreciate what you've helped me to do. And I'm really grateful to the fact that Commissioner Avery suggested that we name this exhibit after you. And of course, all the commissioners joined in by acclaim. Said, yeah, absolutely. There was never a doubt that it should be named after you because of your leadership in that education mission. I love the fact that when generations of school children to come will come to see this exhibit and learn all about the myriad facets of the Pinelands, not just the ecology, but also the industry and the agriculture, all of those things that are explained over there, and even the Jersey Devil, that most of all, they will see that it was one woman who persevered, who had the strength of vision, the depth of dedication, the strength of voice to make sure that a governor was certain to do something to protect these pinelands, to make sure that someone with the strong hand and wordsmithing of your type would be involved in crafting the plan, to make sure that someone like you would be involved for the last 4 decades to help apply that plan and help define it and redefine it over the years so that we could have the organization that we have today. protecting the Pinelands. That, I think, beyond anything else, will inspire these school children to realize that they too, that as one person, they can do something very meaningful, and hopefully they will aspire to be like Candace McKee Ashman. So thank you very much, Candy.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes.
Well, after listening to Candy's remarks, she's so motivational and she has such a great sense of humor. I think we all have our marching orders to continue in her footsteps to get the word out to everyone that we know, everyone that we don't know, how important this treasure is here in South Jersey, the New Jersey Pine Barrens. I think when you live here, you kind of get used to it and you don't appreciate every little aspect. And you have to, I think, remind yourself that, if we don't take care of it, it's going to disappear. And we need to bring people in far and wide to come in and see the beautiful attributes of the New Jersey Pinelands. The animals and the plants and the ecology, also very important. And Candy is certainly a part of this and a Pinelands treasure that is as important as a serotinous cone and a Pine Barrens tree frog. So I have to agree with everyone that has spoken before me. She has been inspiration to me, motivational, and she does all that with a great sense of humor and a great background of knowledge on the commission and on the environment. So Candy, I'd like to thank you so much for everything you've done over the last 40 years. And again, we need to all continue in her footsteps to promote the Pinelands and protect it. Thank you, Candy.
Thank you, Rick.
I'd like to say something,
Sure.
Mr. Chair. To start with, I think Paul and Joel did an outstanding job on the exhibition. I always felt the Pinelands needs awareness and education foremost. I mean, we are a planning and zoning board, but I lived my whole life in the Pinelands. I was born in Hamilton, lived my whole life, worked on blueberries, which is indigenous to the Pinelands, and I'll probably die and the ashes will go back to the blueberries. But I think education and awareness is key. And whatever we could do, and I think Joel and Paul do an excellent job. The exhibition's great, and it couldn't be named after a better lady. About Candy, I came on board approximately 12 years ago. And me and Candy didn't always see eye to eye on every vote. But I have to say that she was a mentor to me too, because she taught me more about institutional history and some of the politics and some of the inner workings of the Pinelands. And she was very instrumental of me becoming a better commissioner. And I always thought that Candy was the ultimate commissioner because she was engaged. She came to every meeting. She wanted to be on every committee. And that's the way it should be when you're up here. You want to be at every meeting and you want to be engaged. And she's a model commissioner, and I admire her. Even though we didn't always see eye to eye, I really thank you for your years of service, and the commission is a better place because of you, Candy. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have sat in many, many meeting rooms of all different sizes and shapes for countless hours with my colleague, Candy Ashman. And no one has been a better commissioner in all those years than she has. She has been, it is amazing to think of the, must be thousands of hours that you have donated to the Pinelands. So, well, I appreciate Commissioner Lobauer's giving me credit for the idea to name the exhibits after you. It really was a group effort. Executive Director Wittenberg, other members of the staff, other commissioners. I was the one that was able to give voice because I sit here and I vote. So, so I appreciate that. But it was as Mark said, it was by acclamation, and both the staff and the commissioners. And it's well deserved, Candy, and it's been an honor to serve with you. Look forward to continuing that service. I guess I am the second oldest serving commissioner now, though I was able to break free for a while. But there's something about the Pines that brings you back in, and be here and look forward to the coming years, continuing the awareness programs that the commission runs, the educational programs, very important, as the other commissioners said, probably even more important than all the permit decisions that get all the attention from the media and so forth. So congratulations, well deserved. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. It's been a lot of years.
I'd just like to thank all of the staff for providing such a wonderful exhibit for all the citizens that come through New Jersey. It brought me back personally to one of my first camping trips with my kids at Wharton State Forest. So it's going to be a meaningful effect to everyone who walks through there. Candy, it's been an honor serving with you. I'm so glad that you didn't tell Governor Byrne no, because we're in a better place because of you. So I look forward to continuing to serve here with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from commissioners? Make a very brief one. One of the disadvantages of being the chairman is that you go last and everybody steals your thunder. So I wanted to echo sentiments of my fellow commissioners. Candy, it's a beautiful exhibit. It's an excellent tool for learning moving forward. It's the perfect thing to honor your leadership and your legacy to the Pinelands. So thank you for your service. And we all appreciate all that you've done here in the Pinelands. Thank you. If we could, one more time, everybody, give a round of applause for Candace Hackman. All right, we're going to move forward with our the rest of our agenda here today. First, we have adoption of our minutes from November 9th. Do we need to keep them separate? All right, so first we'll have the adoption of the open session minutes from November 9th.
So moved.
Any questions or comments on the minutes? All right, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, next we have a motion for the closed session minutes from November 9th.
So moved. Second.
Again, any questions or comments on the minutes?
All abstain.
All right. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
You have two. All right, next up, we have committee and staff reports. We did not have a personnel and budget committee meeting. We did have a policy and implementation committee meeting, which I have a summary I'll read from. Meeting was held on November 30th. The committee adopted the minutes from its September meeting. The committee also recommended the Commission's certification of Medford's Fair Share Housing Element Plan through Ordinance 2018-16. The committee also recommended to the Commission to approve the eligibility of a parcel in Buena Vista for limited practical use land acquisition program. We also granted an extension to the Rancocas Conservancy for a Pinelands Conservation Fund project in Pemberton, 200 acres, known as the CATS project. The committee reviewed draft amendments to the Pinelands Infrastructure Trust Fund Master Plan and requested that staff proceed with a public hearing on this proposal. And then lastly, the committee received an update on long-term economic monitoring plan and it suggested a schedule for future reports, including some new variables to be studied and a special study next summer. Any questions on the policy and implementation committee meeting minutes? None. We also, just a quick side note, we had talked several meetings ago about forming a new commission or new committee to look at the effects of climate change, stormwater, sustainability. And I had asked for commissioners to volunteer for that committee. We did get commissioners to volunteer. We have Commissioner Howe, Lobauer, Lloyd, myself, Mr. Avery, and then Commissioner Barr as an alternate. So I've asked Nancy to put together some dates just for the committee members to meet and kind of get their head around what direction we want to go. And then we will advertise meetings for public participation moving forward. So Nancy's going to circulate those dates to those committee members, and we'll go from there. Next up, we have executive staff reports. Nancy.
Sure. Thank you. So you've seen the exhibit. We had an open house on Tuesday for all the people who helped us, people who contributed all the artifacts you saw in there, people who contributed photographs, and others. It was a good time. People were happy. It's a happy thing. We had food. And we will do additional events going forward as we gear up to have it be part of our existence here. I will happily point out that we still have permitting issues, which is only just and right. We don't have all of our inspections done. We had an electrical issue. So we continue until that happens. The receptionist can't come back into the front, so we're still in that sort of limbo stage, but we're close. So that's good. It's just construction projects are always fraught with all kinds of problems. At the open house, Jonathan Mead was here. He's from National Park Service. He's the National Park Service individual who reached out to me over a year ago saying he thought he might be the new appointee. Then we didn't hear from him again. So he was here. He still believes he will be the appointee. His name is somewhere in some queue waiting. We sat with him for several hours after. Commissioner Avery stopped by. We chatted for a while. We went over budget. We went over our agreements. We went over projects for the future. He's very engaged. So that's good. He may start coming to meetings, even if he doesn't have the formal appointment, just to sort of be involved. He understands he can't vote or any of that. So it seems like that should happen soon. So that was good. So we have another contact there who's now very engaged with us. So that was a great relief to me. You may have seen in the newspaper, New Jersey Natural Gas needed something from the Burlington County freeholders, a road closing, which they got, which prompted me to let you know that there were certain conditions in our approval for that project that they had to get to us prior to starting work. The names of the threatened and endangered species biologist specialist would be on site, the HDD specialist that'd be on site, HDD plans. They have submitted everything to us. Everything has been reviewed except the one last thing we got, which doesn't have to be finalized until they actually start that work. So in terms of our role here, we're done. There's nothing else for us to do, but I just wanted you to know that whatever they had to submit to us, we got. And then only because I have the microphone and I'm not a commissioner, Candy, on behalf of staff, I just want you to know that first of all, you're a perfect commissioner because you always come to meetings. We don't have to chase you down. We didn't have to bother you. We never worried about is Candy coming. Candy's always coming. You're also, no offense to anyone else, perhaps the most, when Candy calls, everyone's in. Candy called. Oh, what does she need? What does she want? What's happening? What did we do wrong? We treat everyone else equally with undue respect, but Candy just was at a different level. And it's respect and admiration, but and just the sheer joy of having a commissioner fully engaged, always came, owned the place. And when you spoke and said, that's what we intended, or that's not what we intended, that was it. So we're just going to make a tape of your voice saying both of those things, and we'll just go with it so we can get out of some of the jams we get into. But I could not be more grateful. Staff, everyone just is so pleased that now when you walk in, your name is there and you have a spot here, which you really deserve. So just took a little of my time.
Any questions for Nancy? All right, Larry.
Just two quick points. One, the Pinelands Infrastructure Trust Fund, we are having a public hearing on that on January 3rd at 7 o'clock here. And we sent notices out to all of our regional growth area communities, both counties and towns. Remember, the funding is only for regional growth areas, so that's why we focused on them. So we'll be having the hearing there and we'll report back to you what we learned. Second thing I wanted to mention, this was on the long-term economic monitoring. In our review, one of the things that came up is people would like to see the data earlier than once a year. Because if we publish it once a year, it's always a year late to begin with. So now you're 2 years behind. So we're going to try to do it on a rolling basis. As we get the data in, we're going to try to put it on the website so you can go in there and click on it and you'll see that particular data set. So we already have some of the data sets ready, and when we have it up and running, we'll come back and show it to you. But it'll be a way to get data as it comes out rather than waiting for the full year. I just want to, that's all I have.
Questions for Larry?
Good morning, commissioners, members of the public. I just had 3 items I wanted to mention. On December 4th, the executive director and members of the staff met with the mayor of Mullica Township. The mayor was interested in discussing economic development opportunities, primarily along the White Horse Pike in the Elwood section of Mullica Township. We discussed a number of options, including alternate design septic systems that could be used for individual development applications or perhaps a community wastewater system. The second item I wanted to mention was we're just finishing up our review of a large residential development application in Barnegat Township. It's approximately a 140-acre site on the south side of West Bay Avenue. It's close to the Garden State Parkway, 777 residential dwelling units on the parcel, and a significant number of Pineland development credits. It's approximately 50 total Pineland development credits. That's 200 development rights would be used by that project. And the last item I just wanted to mention was we're involved in a matter in Winslow Township. There was a municipal court hearing scheduled for Wednesday. It involves off-site soil removal as part of an agricultural operation. The commission's regulations require that once over a certain volume of soil is removed from a parcel, then an application to the Pinelands Commission is required for that. And that matter is progressing through the municipal court process. Thank you.
Questions for Chuck? All right. Susan, anything from you? Paul?
Yes. I want to thank everybody.
What's the status of the exhibit?
I don't know. Might have seen something. So I want to thank everyone for the kind words for sure. I also really want to note as well, it took a group effort from everyone, commissioners and the staff. Every office played a role in this in helping to develop and review content and also helping to, also enduring the construction for a long time. This office has been closed for a long time. The staff's had to deal with that. So I thank them for that. Without a doubt, Joel Mott and I did put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this project. Blood from the ticks that would feast on us when we were taking pictures, sweat from trying to get the funding, and tears from the permitting process. And some of those tears I can still taste. So, but there's no doubt we could have done this without lots of help from the public and our sister agencies. Looking back, it's clear just how much people love this area and want to see it protected for future generations. And this was especially evident when we would talk to people and explain our project, what we wanted to do with it. And they said, well, if these exhibits are to help protect the Pinelands and preserve our heritage, then count me in. We had amazing artists make various items for us and donate it to us, asking for nothing in return. We had farmers rummaging through their barns looking for old cranberry boxes. We had our sister agencies such as DEP and many others orchestrate loans of artifacts that may not have a huge monetary value, but are priceless pieces of Pinelands history. We also had many photographers donate some of their best work. People like Al Horner, who's here today, who donated that shot from the Apple Pie Hill Fire Tower. I understand he had to get up at 4 in the morning to take that shot, get it just right. That's not one you happen into. That's skill and talent. We also had agencies do research on our behalf, asking for nothing in return, all because they felt this was an important project. And of course, we could have never gotten to this point without the help from the National Park Service. Phil Carell in particular, who was here on Tuesday, who was retired. He used to be the project director at the Pinelands Interpretive Office when that used to exist. They provided us with $50,000 grant that paid for the exhibit assessment. It paid for the design. And then, of course, the commissioners, with the backing of the administration here, decided to change the policy to add a new education and outreach component of the Pinelands Conservation Fund. Without those things, we would have never gotten to this point. So I want to thank everybody for that. So that's pretty much my thoughts on that.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, you may have noticed that we have issued the 3rd edition of the Pinelands National Reserve wall calendar here. Everyone should have gotten a copy of the commissioners. We placed them at 3 state parks and forests for the public. They're free of charge. They're at Brendan Burn, Bass River, and Batstow while supplies last. So I know it's been very popular. We called them earlier in the week and they said, oh my God, please get them here. We keep getting phone calls. I know we're happy to provide this to the public and I hope they enjoy it.
Do we have some here for the public today?
Yeah,
Okay.
we do. Okay, that is all. If anyone has any questions, thanks again.
Thanks, Paul. All right, any questions or comments from commissioners on any of the staff reports? All right, rolling right along. We have a couple public development applications. First is one for Folsom Borough. Do we have a motion?
Move. Second.
Questions or comments on the Folsom resolution? All right, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, next up, we have a resolution regarding a sanitary sewer installation in Galloway Township. We have a motion. And any questions or comments on that resolution? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, next up, we have 2 resolutions regarding planning matters. The first is, and these were items that came in front of Policy and Implementation Committee. So they did recommend approval for these. First is the 2017 Fair Share Housing Element Plan for Medford Township. Do we have a motion?
I'll move it. Second.
Any questions or comments on that resolution? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Moving right along. Next is the eligibility for a parcel as part of the limited practical use program. Motion?
I'll move it. Second.
Once again, any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right. Next up, we have public comment for matters where the record is not closed. This is for any applications in front of the commission that are open. There is a list that's been published. We have one for the Department of Transportation, one for Medford Township, and one for Cape May County. If you have any comments regarding those applications, now is the time to put your comments on record. All right, seeing none, we'll close that portion of public comment. Now we have a very long list of master plans and ordinances not requiring commission action, but I will ask Susan, is there any comments of note? Nothing?
Very busy. Towns are very, very busy the last few months of the year.
Is that affordable housing driven for the most part?
Housing, redevelopment plans, all kinds of things.
All right. Next up, we have, what do we have? Resolution for 2019 commission meeting schedule. Has everybody gotten a chance to review that? Or I guess first, do we have a motion?
I'll move it. Second.
Has everybody gotten a chance to review that? Are there any, I know everybody has 2019 planned already.
We're pushing our luck next December.
Yeah. Well, as always, if there's issues, we can amend as needed, but all in favor of this resolution? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Next up, we have general public comment. I'm sure we have a list. It's a very short list, so we'll go through the list first, and then if there's anybody after that who'd like to speak, we'll work from one side of the room to the other. First up is Jonathan Peters.
Morning, Commissioners. I've spoken before to you. I'm an economist from the City University of New York, professor of finance. I just want to encourage you, after I heard about the economic monitoring report, that I really do understand the idea and the value of continuous variables to monitor the health of the economy in the region. But I do think there's a lot of value, given some of the areas that we're going to defer on putting a continuous variable in, to really do some monitoring reports. And those will give you at least a snapshot, particularly the area of recreation, visitors and such. That activity is very, very important, I think, for the region. I think we need to move away from a commodity type agricultural sector and really talk about how the value of the region is to public access and to regional recreation. And I think a snapshot report would really be helpful for you to at least get a baseline. So I'd like to encourage you to think about that. And I know that's been encouraged, but I think it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Benjamin Breslin?
Hi, everyone. I want to say I'm really, really impressed by the exhibit. And I was just curious, as someone from Camden County, have you guys done any work to promote the exhibit and more of the Pinelands in that area? I'm just really curious because I think it's really interesting.
I think Paul will take note. And
Yes, I will.
Very good. Emily Moore?
Hi. I really appreciate the exhibit. I don't get to see a lot, even though I'm from Burlington County. I've lived in New Jersey all of my life. I don't get to see a lot of information being passed around publicly about the exhibits here or anywhere else and for the Pinelands. So is there anything out there that might be done to help make this more public?
Thank you. Just to comment on those two right there, you can go on our website and sign up for Pinelands alerts. And our website is a very useful tool for a lot of the things that at least we have control over within the Pinelands. So, but Paul's taking note of your comments as well. That's it for the sign up list. So start on this side. Carlton, go ahead.
Morning, Carlton Montgomery with the Pinelands Preservation Alliance. I want to say congratulations to the commission on the exhibit. It's really cool and much needed. And I hope that you can attract people that come and use it and learn from it. And also want to say thank you, as I've been able to do a few times lately, to Candy, but particularly here in this setting for the wisdom continuously over many years is an invaluable asset to an agency whose strength lies in continuity and not shifting all the time with the political winds of the day. And that's absolutely critical. Also, you've been, along with Governor Byrne and Nan Walnut, my personal conscience, the brooding omnipresence, that if I don't do right, Candy will let me know. So thank you again for that, and congratulations on this recognition.
Thank you. Gonna work my way across. Please raise your hand if you'd like to come up and say something. There you go. Go ahead, ma'am. You in the front.
Hi, I'm Michelle Byers with the New Jersey Conservation Foundation, and Candy was my first boss in the Pines back in 1981. And I can say that without you, Candy, I wouldn't have the life that I've had over the last over 30 years, and felt that I was able to, with you as an inspiration, be able to make a difference, but in the Pinelands and around the state. You've just been like a guiding light for me my whole life. And I hope that you're also an inspiration for more people to step up and to really give public service and understand that people really can make a difference, especially the up and coming generation really needs to see the example that you set, because I think it'll make a difference for them. So I love you and congratulations. You deserve even more than this, but this is wonderful.
Thank you, Michelle. If I hadn't had Michelle down here in the woods, I never would have had a place to spend the night. Thank you.
You don't need to go into any more detail.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Pigleski, and I'm from Woodbine, New Jersey. I'm a first grade teacher there, and that's in Cape May County. I just wanted to say thank you to being such a great advocate This is a wonderful place. I cannot wait to bring my students here for field trips. And again, thanks for being such a great leader and forward thinker for everyone in this room and for everyone in the state of New Jersey. It's really appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason, no, you biting your tongue today? All right. I had to say something.
Hi, everyone. Jason Howell, Pinelands Preservation Alliance. I just want to say that the first generation and the original people that helped preserve the Pinelands, it means so much to me because you also preserved my family history and my family. I've taken visits down to the Smoky Mountains, and there's villages within the Smokies that are long abandoned. The people, they were allowed to live out their lives, and they've moved on. But in the Pinelands, because of the very nuanced view of how to preserve this area, the culture has been allowed to survive in small ways sometimes, but it's been allowed to survive. And that is one thing that I really personally appreciate about the founding of the Pinelands and continuing today to preserve not only the people, but the ecosystem. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Coming in this direction. Mr. Jackson. Mr. Akers, you were too late.
Good morning to all the commissioners. And Candy, everybody said what you really deserve. The one thing that I've always been struck by is that your consistent dedication. And in the exhibit, I saw the little cedar block that they make the heads of the ducks with. They whittle away at it. And it's something that we can't forget. We all have to share the vision that you have and keep it consistent because there's not a whole lot of the Pinelands left. And if we take the example of that block, you can whittle it, but you can whittle it to nothing. And if we don't realize, if we don't change the way we think, we're going to keep doing some of the encroachment that is a natural tendency the way we're thinking now. So I'm really encouraged to have that committee to look at how the climate is affecting everything. And hopefully that will set the stage for the thinking that we need to have in place in order to preserve what we all say is great. We're giving homage to Candy for her dedication. Well, if we don't have a mind change and start thinking the way that she does, one day this is going to be in a museum of what is called the Pinelands. We're going to be making a museum saying this is what it used to be. So we have to really get serious and say we want to preserve what we have left, not take pictures and have it in a museum one day of what we could have saved. So appreciate what you do, appreciate what the Pinelands does. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Go ahead, Fred, come on up.
I'm Fred Akers from the Great Harbor Watershed Association. I'm going to talk about Candy, but I'm first going to support the idea of the new committee. I remember for a number of years, the commission had a science committee that was chaired for a long time by the National Park Service Commissioner, McIntosh. So I'm glad to see the return of that. I thought that there was a place for that and it would be good to go. But I have to say that this has been a really big week for Candy Ashman. I happened to, by coincidence, be in Trenton on Monday to observe the governor's environmental awards. And lo and behold, there was Candy. And she was sitting next to Richard Sullivan's wife at this meeting on Monday. So I had a chance to meet her. And Candy received the first ever Richard J. Sullivan Award presented by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. So that was like pretty special. And your accomplishments are indeed remarkable. Congratulations.
I wish I had a lot more years. I won't be around.
Was there anybody else for public comment?
Good morning. My name is Michael Flynn. I'm a political science student from Rutgers Camden. First of all, Candy, I would just like to say congratulations. I've been kind of watching from afar recently. This is my first meeting, but I'd like to thank you for your work. I just want to bring up how in the beginning of the meeting, you wanted to bring up more attention brought to the Pineys. I'm originally from Monmouth County, so most I've heard of this area was pretty much Jersey Devil War, but I read an article earlier about how Governor Murphy has not been in the Pine Barrens at all since his tenure started. And I wanted to know if you guys had any plans to bring him down for a big meeting, for a big event, especially considering the fire that has happened in California. So I wanted to bring awareness to protecting the Pine Barrens, not just from development, but from climate change through things like forest fires. So that was just something I wanted to bring to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would just comment that we have almost always gotten a governor in a canoe, almost dry, by the time they spend a day in the Pines. So we need to think about that.
Thank you.
If I could just comment, I think that's a great idea. We should invite the governor down for a tour of the Pinelands and do a nice canoe trip with him.
Nancy, you want to extend an invitation? Thank you. All right, well, we will close public comment on my agenda here. We have no reason to retire into closed session, right? Very good. In closing, any comments from commissioners? Yes.
Since we're talking about awareness of the Pinelands today, it's a focus. Pinelands Commission does a lot to educate the residents of New Jersey and even beyond. And so I just wanted to ask about the short course that's coming up in March. That's all online and ready to go.
We have finalized the lineup and
Okay.
the brochure is going to be printed very soon. I'm going to ask Joel if he could fill us in on the number of courses.
Yeah, this year's going to be the 30th anniversary, which is kind of special, pretty neat to have an event that's be part of the 30th. For me, luckily, it'll be my 16th. And we do have 36 presentations in total, 25 new presentations. It's going to run sooner after those from around 9 to about 3:34. And then after the event is over, the cuts are done, we're going to have cake and coffee and just kind of a little bit of a celebration to share stories of 30 years of Pinelands Workforce. And that will be, after the event. It'll be March 9th. It's going to be down at Stockton Department. In the past, and again, this will be the 6th in a row at Stockton's new campus center. And it's been a pretty good partnership and relationship. And so much so that 2 years ago, we started a summer short course. And so we'll have our 3rd annual summer short course. It's going to be Thursday, July 18th this summer. So two of our marquee events, things also like our World Water Modern Day we do in the fall. We've done a number of in-class education programs. Not here, I'm either out in the woods doing the work in the science office, or I might be in classroom talking to students about the Pinelands. But we will also start to transition more of those in-class education programs to on-site education programs. We have the resources here with the conference room, the exhibit, and we're also very close to a number of places to get outside and do kind of a combination of classroom presentation and natural hike or nature hike. Some of the resources close, so that's kind of what we're looking forward to moving forward.
That's wonderful. I understand last year the numbers increased for the short course.
Yeah,
number of
last year I think we
participation.
were well over 600 people. And, we had up and down. I think one year we actually had over 800 people at the short course. But to get that many people on a Saturday to kind of give up their day to just come and learn about the Pinelands, it really what kind of strives and inspires us to try to take it up a notch each year.
So people can actually link to the Pinelands Commission website, maybe to the education page if they want to pass information along to others.
Yeah, definitely through our Facebook page as well. As far as awareness, we do have a full visitor section with kind of a recreation library embedded within our website. So there is a fair amount of information as far as where to go and what to do. You can always call us, our communications office, public programs office, and I get numerous calls usually every week. Where can I go? What can I do? The real neat thing about right now is now I'm going to have a new answer And instead of saying, hey, you go down to Battsville or over to Jake's France, we can say, well, first you can come by our office at the Pinelands Commission. You have to start your Pinelands experience from there.
You could take about an hour just walking around this site, and the education exhibit is open every day, that the office is open, what, 9 to
Right, once
9 to
we get
4?
everything worked out, we'll be open pretty much from 9 to 4, revising your operating hours, when the office is open. We also have the bottom already, which is a really neat thing to get your hands on and see some Pinelands plants. But it'll kind of change our operating procedures a little bit, just to better accommodate visitors as they learn more about Pinelands.
And plus, we have the historic Fenwick Manor. So we've got a lot going on right here.
Yeah, so that's kind of a neat point. We've got the wayside out there, but Fenwick Manor goes back to Benjamin Jones, who was one of the original iron monitors and had ownership of Canada Furnace, which is over on Fort Dix. Later in life, his nephew James Fenwick, one of the first cranberry growers, and his granddaughter Elizabeth White with the blueberries, and now the same facility is home for the Pinelands Commission. So it's kind of a neat tie of the history of the area that we're still here, preserving Pinelands along this site.
Yeah, staff really does a wonderful job with the education aspect of our responsibilities here at the commission. So thanks you guys.
Thanks.
And wish everybody a happy holiday.
Thank you.
Other comments from commissioners?
Chairman, I spoke a lot before, but there was one thing I omitted. I wanted to acknowledge and thank the many people who came down to this meeting to pay tribute to Candy. That means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to her too. I want to thank the environmental organization leaders who are here from all over the state. And I especially want to thank our colleagues, our former colleagues from here at the commission, former Commissioner Leslie Ficali, who came all the way from France, and Bob Jackson, who came all the way from Cape May. Okay, Joe DiBello came out, and of course Jay Mounier. You're always here, Jay, so we count on you always being here. Oh, and also the former executive director Terry Moore, who was here. Thanks so much for doing that. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Any other comments from commissioners? All right. Wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And we can have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Happy holidays, everybody.